changing your role to the presenter now, Joyce. So you are now the presenter.
Okay.
So we start with the roll call?
Yes, we'll start with the roll call.
Okay, this is Billy. Hi, everyone. I have Barbara Brady, Becky Callan, Bill Tracy, Darby Cram, Loretta Watt, Nancy Whitbread, Opie Keene, Rebecca, I don't have your last name, Willis, W-I-L-L-I-S, okay, and Vonda Russell. Is there anyone else on the call? And I have Brian, Joyce, myself, and then Susan White will be coming on.
Right. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Billy. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As you may recall from our last meeting, we had begun a series of training on streamlining your budget to maximize resources for your program. And we had, during the last call, sent out 3 activity sheets, and we really appreciate those who did respond and did send their activity sheets to us. And we are going to briefly review them with Susan. Susan White will be the presenter today. We'll be going through Part 2, Public Relations. Susan is the Senior Partner with ACKCO, and some of you may have had previous training with her during our annual conference in Reno. And she will be conducting the training for us throughout this series, which will run till about August. So with that, does anyone have any questions? If not, we'll turn it over to Susan. And I'm going to put my phone on speakerphone, so I hope I don't make any noises.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I got the information for those of you that filled it out. You did a great job. You did a great job. Okay? So remember I told you that the first thing we're going to talk about is public relations, but let's go over what we saw. What was most interesting to me was to look at the resources you guys came up with that you needed. You did a good job. You did a really good job. And some of you went through and said, oh, I can get this done and that. So I really want to compliment those of you that did it. And what I did is, like you do whenever you're looking at resource needs, is the first thing is to figure out the hardest to get is the cash. So what is the hard cash? I broke it out to hard cash, volunteers, and donations. All right? So what's the hard cash that we need? How many volunteers do we need? And then what kind of donations that we're going to have to round up? Now, and approach it from that. Now, clearly, sometimes you can try and get donations, but you just can't get them. So I'm putting it there because we're going to try it first, but then if we can't get them, then we're going to have to move that over to cash. But you can kind of see where everybody fell into it. The existing staff, you know, if you're going to do just expand someone's time, of course, we're going to have money for that. We can't ask them to volunteer. Well, we can, but, you know, we're not going to ask them to volunteer 25% of the time. And that was just basically a brief analysis of what we're looking for. You guys don't really need, I mean, what you have here is so realistic. I was very impressed by that. So that just gives you a feel for where everybody else is at. And, you know, one thing I do want to say, though, when we're looking at this money-wise, it's really interesting. Once you get your base funding, sometimes just a little bit more money can make a big difference and is reflected in your request here. And then the second thing I looked at was your public relations assessment. And I'll talk about that in just a minute here.
Spreadsheet up here that we should be looking at?
Yes.
Yes.
Mine's blank.
Yeah, mine is too.
Oh, really? Yeah. Ours is showing. What's up, Joyce?
To share, and then I opened it up. Brian?
Did you open it up from within?
Yeah, within the box that came up.
Why don't you try it again?
Okay.
So I'm kind of talking about a block.
There we go.
Yeah, you can't open it on your computer. Like you got to open it within WebEx.
Okay. All right.
Now you're on resource needed.
Yeah, this is what you guys came up with. So this is what I was referring to. I thought you did a very good job of delineating what your resource needs are. And I think that it really reflects kind of the premise that, you know, sometimes once we reach base funding with just a few extra dollars, we can really do a lot. Because if we look at this. And what I did was I just took what your requests were and kind of broke it into, you know, this is, you know, in a perfect world with all the stars lighting up in the skies, we'll get this donated, we'll get these many volunteers, and we are going to have to raise some cash here. It's not a lot of cash, so I thought that was pretty good. And it's not a lot of volunteers, and it's not a lot of donations, so I thought everything was very reasonable. I thought you were very realistic. Probably the most realistic group I've ever worked with. A lot of times you just see all this pie in the sky stuff that, you know, it's just crazy. I mean, you know, you have to deal with reality. So this just kind of gives you a feel of how I looked at your different resource needs. That's all it is. But in addition, it gives me a feel for what kind of research I need to start doing for you guys. So anyway, just wanted to show you that. So whenever you're looking for resources, always try and get it somewhere besides cash. But once again, you know, cash is the fallback. So that's the first one I wanted to show you. Okay? Now, we're going to start talking public relations. Public relations doesn't respond to emergency needs. We need the money now. We're talking public relations. We're talking about a long-term strategy to really set a base for funding, for recurring funding, and to start really courting that base, okay? And really looking in the long term of always having a steady stream of unrestricted revenues or a mix of funding. Now, I really want to make that clear. Now, those emergency situations are something different or don't look differently than this. So let's talk about public relations. And again, okay, we know what you're talking about with public relations. It's critical for people to know who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and that. And, you know, I say it's for individuals, government agencies, foundations, corporations. You know, to me, it's for everybody. It's for everybody. Now, what the trick is going to be is how you decide where to target, because we're not going to blanket the world with information about, you know, about Navajo foster grandparent program or something. But it's, you know, you have to decide where you can get the biggest bang for the buck in public relations. Okay, so of course I have steps to developing a public relations plan. 6 steps to it, you guys. And this is really no different than anything else. The first one is auditing your current public relations efforts. And you guys have already done, some of you have already done that. Can you pull this one up, please, Joyce? And so I did a spreadsheet. Done this. And I was very, very pleased with the results. But very pleased with everything else, but you can't tell. it's pretty much you guys. So, with the exception of one, okay, I don't know what's happening, but what the sheet shows, how many people put, one person put this. You guys may want to add that to your list, all right? Yes. Okay, thanks, Brian.
Sure.
We're not real good techies back here, you guys. Okay, and then I also was really pleased to see that some of you actually have budgets for public relations. So that's very good too, because it is going to cost some money. It is going to cost some money. Okay, what I was real happy to see is that almost all of you have brochures, okay? Almost all of you have websites. All of you do have a logo, which is, you know, the branding piece of it, okay? So kind of the core tools that you need, you all have. And clearly, most of you think it's important, very important. So that's okay, that's good. And I thought you were spot on when I looked at your different things about, you know, you were very good at identifying who you really need to focus on, okay? And so anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, that you guys are farther ahead than a lot of groups. So you've done your audit, you know what you have, right? Now, the next step is that step one. The next step that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to I look at those resources needed, okay, and I look at maybe the first group, okay, well, one of my goals, and this would be my short-term goal, my longer goals, I'm going to need to do some public relations with businesses in the community that can give me some gifts. You know, just that kind of stuff, setting up and taking a look at that. And what are my goals? Some other things that were talked about was my goals were to, you know, some people said to educate the total community, okay? You have to decide who it is, and once you know what your goals are, then you'll get some specific objectives. And actually, when I said business community, I was down closer to an objective. To do it. And again, this all takes time. Please, I talk about this stuff, and I know that you're all working full-time jobs anyway. That's why I said you're going to have to get some help or try and get some help to help you do this, where they can focus on it. And, you know, you're not in the middle of getting ready to go make a presentation and you have a staff issue you have to deal with 5 minutes for the presentation. Okay? Let me tell you. Yeah, I worked with one group, it was a seniors group, and let me give you some of their objectives. The agency will provide information about the services to 750 seniors in 10 service areas, resulting in 750 seniors, remember that, in 10 areas, resulting in, they have like this membership deal, 68 individual memberships and 7 household memberships. So they were looking for a 1-to-10 ratio here. They knew for every one person that they wanted to touch to become part of their program, they had to talk, okay? Then they were also looking with businesses, and so they knew that they had to talk to, well, they didn't write it, but they should have known that they needed to talk to 400 businesses in order to get 40 to work with their program, all right? Another case is when they were looking at one of their services, okay, they wanted to get 15 people to participate in this service, and it was a third-party billing service, so that's why. Okay, they kind of did a mix here. They picked 50 professionals, case managers, that they needed to make presentations to, and 100 families of people that would need that service. But that's kind of what you're doing. You set your overall goal, and then you decide what your objectives are. And objectives are when we really get measurable on that. And the third step, which I just sort of addressed here, is identify your audiences. Who do you need to talk to? Like to get support. How many of you have support from your city and county and state government? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, do you need to talk to the elected officials? Do you need to continue talking to them about your program and what it does?
Sure.
Yeah, of course, of course. Some agencies that are actually getting funding from the cities and counties, governments, you know, they make that a regular part of their activities throughout the year, where they go make a presentation once a year and they submit reports either monthly or quarterly. That's the first thing. So, let's see, who should we look at? Oh, well, let's talk more about your audiences. Most of you want donations. So how many of you are really, you know, doing PR with the business community? Okay, because that's where you go for the donations, really, the recognition gifts, the printed material. Oh, boy, we have your business community. So we have to, you know, that would be one of our audiences. Again, the community, if you need support from the total community, then you're talking about very broad-based, all community members. Okay? So you're looking at that. Again, you have to identify specifically who your audiences are because the messages that you give to them will be different. They'll be much different. And that will be the next thing. You can't develop your messages until you know who your audiences are. Just like with elected officials, what type of message do we want to send to them? Who's on the call? I'm going to call on you guys.
Ryan, can you call on someone? I can't see their...
Sure, we have Barb, Becky, Bill.
Barb, perfect.
Yeah?
Barb, what kind of message do you need to send to your elected officials about your program?
We need to educate them about our program, but we can't, just so that they vote the correct way to help fund our program, just to educate them about what we do.
About what you do and about what needs it meets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that they know you're meeting a need. This is really, really important, and we talked about it on the last call. Lots of times when you guys are meeting needs, people forget that that need's there because you're taking care of it. So you always have to keep that in the forefront. And again, with them, you know, you have to do that. Now, if I'm talking to the business community, what kind of message am I going to send? What need your program does in the community. Again, need will always be there, but how they're supporting the community. And again, they're going to need to see some PR benefits, but how they're a community partner. I mean, watch TV, and you'll see a lot of these ads, and that's exactly what they're tying into. You know, you're supporting our community, and our community needs to support you, that kind of thing. You know, so it's different in just the general community. In general, almost you have to break that out by population base. Like if you're providing, maybe it's a homebound person you're providing senior companion services to, you know, who do you want to educate? The people that are getting the senior companion services, the people that potentially might need the senior companion services, of course them, you know, to tell them how it can, you know, what you have to offer and, you know, assure them. But who else do we need to educate? How about their family? How many of you have ever had a family member call you to see if you can help with a parent or with an aunt or an uncle? Does that happen all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, again, and that's a totally different message. You know, Because one, you're showing how you're helping to care for it. Now, if you go to some of your seniors and say, we're going to take care of you, what are they going to do? They're going to rear up their backs, many of them, because they feel that they're still independent. They want to be perceived as independent. So again, we have different messages there. Okay, so that's why you have to identify your audience, and then you prepare the message for them. Okay, and then step 5 is to select what type of media that you need. And there's different medias, and I'll speak briefly to them. If I wanted to do an article in the newspaper, what population do you think I'm going to hit? My grassroots, my elected officials, my business communities, the most. Where is it going to have the most impact? Probably the total community, right? If you're from small towns or that, where the newspaper is read a lot, and that. So that's a good way. I don't think you should ever pay for an advertisement. I think you get stories written about yourself. It's the best way to do it. Magazines, honest to God, you guys, I've known one person that's used a magazine, so I am certainly not an expert on that. Wire services, that's more for large national programs. Television, I think television is expensive unless you're on some free talk show, where they interview you at midnight or 3 in the morning. I'm not sure who who you're going to reach that well. I think radio is a very good media to use. Listen, you guys, this is all according to Susan. So, you have to make your own decisions because you know your communities. Like in the tribal or native communities, radio is a great way to get out to the community, that type of thing. Public affairs programs, they may or they may not. I'm not sure. That really varies from community to community. Who of you has a public affairs program in your community? Anybody? Come on, somebody does.
That include Access Television?
Yeah,
Yeah, we do,
okay.
in Washington.
How well is that watched? Who watches that?
It's on one of the cable networks. For instance, I do not get it because I don't have cable, but it's watched by people who basically channel surf, and if they come across something, because their philosophy is they will put on air anything people submit within legal guidelines, of course. They'll put it on, and they'll put it on a revolving basis. So we have done interview-style shoots for free, where we go in and we conduct a round table and talk about our programs, and they get put on a revolving basis. It could be, and it's all random.
Oh, that's cool, though, how they're doing it there. That's
sure, cool. But it could be 4 in the morning. It could be 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and you have no choice over that.
That's actually cool because you're drawing a more diverse population than most public affairs channels because, they're just talking about, they've got the city council meeting and stuff like that. Yours could have people that are just looking for kind of the off stuff, and they happen onto yours. And it could be during regular times, too. So I think that's pretty cool. So in your case, I would say that's a great place to, like you said, sit at a round table whenever you've done. In other communities, I'd say don't waste your time, because you're going to be shown at 3 in the morning. And it's only for people who care about this program and probably already know about it anyway that's going to watch it, So it's making those kinds of choices. Now, the Internet is a tool. I really do want to speak to this for a few minutes because I think it's a critical tool. And incidentally, I did look at all your websites, okay, and took a look at them. So I want to speak to websites a little bit. Incidentally, I don't believe in spamming people, all right? One group came up with a big spam idea, and I was like, that really pisses people off, I don't think that's such a hot idea. But I think with the Internet, the one problem I had when I looked at the site, and I know that some of you have restrictions because you're part of a larger organization, all right? And I don't know how much flexibility you have, or if you could have a link to another website you could develop in that. So, all those things, have to be taken into consideration. I'm talking in a perfect world where you get to decide, get to go all by yourself for that. But the one thing that I noticed is that I really, and 2 of you did have places, but 3 of you actually did. I had a hard time finding where to donate money. I had to, but I couldn't figure out where to do it. okay? I mean, I wanted to find where I could do it, okay? But I couldn't figure out where to do it. And with a couple of you, I found where to do it, but it didn't tell me it would go to your program, per se. And that was, and I thought, well, I want to donate, if I'm looking at it and I want to donate to your program, I can't do it on this website. So that's one thing. So I sort of wanted to talk a little bit, because I think that websites are probably the key tool to use. Okay, I think it's very, very important. So I wanted to talk to you about the world according to Susan, what I think should be included in a website. And I think there's 3 very critical pages that you should have, or components to your website you should have. Okay, the first one should tell about who you are, the stuff we've been talking about. Who you are, what you do, the need for your services, that type of thing. Okay? The first thing is the hook, where you tell them what you are and what you're doing. And I think that's, you know how they're spread where you hit the tab and you go to the next one.
Thank you.
The second thing, and I couldn't find any of this, on one I did find it, but not to do it with your program. Again,
Yeah.
the second one was how they can get involved with your program.
Oh, if we don't get it processed right.
Okay, so how they can get involved.
Wait, awesome.
So if, the different volunteer opportunities you might have, right? Maybe a place that would allow them to apply to be a volunteer online. Okay, that's what I was looking for, something that would allow me. Well, I just read about your program. I think it's a great program. I want to volunteer for it now. If I have to wait for a week to call your office to offer to volunteer, it's probably not going to happen. Okay, so the get involved section I think is important, and where people can, actually volunteer, fill out an application. The other thing that I think is important is, if you're into memberships, and I'm into memberships, where people pay memberships for $10 or something a year, and they get an email newsletter every year, but they're a member and they get a card, card-carrying member, because these have been proven to be very, very successful, incidentally, membership type programs. Not a lot of money from any one person, but if you get 300 people that become members, and my gosh, just get your family, that's $3,000 a year, every year. So I think offer them to be a member of your organization, a member of the support group, something like that, whatever you want to call it. Maybe you might want to have a corporate membership where companies could be a member. If you keep it minimal, for $100 or something like that, companies will do it to say, yes, we support it. And it's not, a big expense, but they still can do it. The other thing that I didn't see, and I'm still in Get Involved, and I didn't see this anywhere on anybody's website, is printable brochures. So I should have said that back when you have the thing where you're talking about the first tab where you're talking about who you are. Have your brochure, have a printable brochure there. That way, how many of you have ever looked at something on the web and then printed it out to read it, or something like that? Allow these people to do it. One, it'll save you a ton of money. Two, it'll get your brochures out. You'll have people distributing your brochures. Have nice printable brochures that people can print out, okay? That type of thing. Again, about the volunteers, about being a volunteer. Have a printable brochure. Lots of times when people volunteer, they like to do it with a friend or with a buddy. They can print that out, show it to their friend, and they can volunteer together. They can volunteer together. So that's the second component, is get involved. And if you guys want more information about this, just let us know, because I really do feel pretty strong about this stuff, and have written a lot on it. Okay, the third component that I think needs to be in a website is how people can donate to your program, okay? And how you do this is up to you, but allow people to donate. Allow them to donate right there on site, all right, while they're reading it. And again, you want to do a couple things. If you're going to allow them to donate, do something, allow them to donate through a system that people feel secure with. People don't feel comfortable putting a credit card in unless it's something they know, like a PayPal or something like that. So allow them to donate, you know, while they're thinking about you, looking about what you do and that. The other good thing about this, though, how many of you look at the hits to your website? Do any of you get the reports on the hits to your website?
No.
No.
Oh, that's a good thing to get, you guys. When we looked at ours, because, I mean, just little ACKCOs. Brian, well, how many hits? Wait, even better. Brian, how many hits do you get to your this is a program-specific website, to your tribal corporation website a month? You get those reports.
Oh, yeah, it was, I was really surprised. It was over 600, I believe.
Oh, no, it was in the thousands, Brian.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was either 3,000 or 5,000. 3,000. 3,000. I mean, that's to the corporation piece of our website. And, Brian, have you ever seen where they come from? Like Sweden, Germany, things like that.
Oh, yeah, I did see some of that.
Yeah, allow those people to donate, you know. So, you know, and they have these three distinct sections with one, what you do, who you are, that kind of stuff. Two, you know, how people can get involved, okay, and then three, how they can donate. And there's lots of cool things you can do with the donation part. You know, you can put it so people can print out gift cards with a donation and then just send it, because if they're, you know, they're like me and they're trying to find a gift at the last minute and you want to do something through giving, oh, look, here's a great gift card, you know, that I print out, you know, and tell them that I've donated to this organization or that. A good example, and I told you about this last time, if you want to take a look at this, is at heifer.org, because let me tell you, they've done it to the max. Okay, now, a place where you can get help. I know websites cost money. There's ways that you can get it that it doesn't cost as much money. Have any of you ever heard of Charity Focus? Charity Focus will do your website for free, and then they'll also train your staff on how to maintain the website and update the website. Okay, the good part about it is these are all geeks that really know what they're doing, or I mean computer engineers that know what they're doing. The bad part is you get on a waiting list, but that's okay. If you don't have the money for it and you have to wait, you know, 6 months, 9 months, that's okay, and they train your staff. The other good thing about them too is that if, you know, you need support services in the future, you can get it really cheap. I think it's like $25 an hour or something, and I know that the going rate right now is $125 to $175 if you're buying it commercial. But if you guys are interested, I'll get the information about this and get it out to you. Another place is local. If you're by a college or a university, let it be a project. Brian, isn't that what Bryson did for his college project, was do one of the PCCCs?
I believe so.
Yeah, let them do it as a project. I mean, you know, and again, I'm old, I'm showing my age, but, you know, these young kids, these high school kids are amazing with what they can do, you know, and they get into it.
And Susan, I was just looking at that report. We have over 700 hits per day for both our ACKCO.
Oh, you were thinking of the daily hits, right?
Yeah, for our ACKCO website and our ACKCO CNCS website, we have like over 750 hits a day.
Yeah, see you guys? I mean, websites are the bomb. Once you get it up there and get it rolling, you're not taking 750 calls a day. So do a nice website. But anyway, you can get, sometimes you can get college, universities, some of these technical college schools to do it. Okay? Do your website for free. And that. So that's another thing. But I really I'm just a huge advocate that you do a really nice website and get a good website that allow people to learn about you, to be able to volunteer to help you, and then also to donate to you at the same time. And again, for those of you that are part of a larger organization, maybe they'll let you do a link from their organization to a website that lets you be a little bit more specific. You have to work within your own agencies and organizations, so I understand that. The second thing I think you need is a really good generic brochure. You know, and of course I have a recommendation on what I think the brochure should look like too. Okay, I think you need one really good brochure, okay? And with the front cover tells a little bit about you and what's, and what's going to be in the rest of the brochure. Okay, and then on the inside, you give additional information about the services that you have. I think the middle column should be pictures, that people can look at, people that are benefiting from your services or things that you are doing, and make that unique, something not just the picture of the elder sitting at the table eating a meal, but something very unique, something, very, that people, that touch people. How many of you ever see, like, pictures that just touch your heart? Okay? I do all the time, but something like that has that in it. Okay? On the third column to the right, you can do a couple of different things. You can either do things with how people can get involved or anything special you want to do. If you want to do a special message to the business community or special information to families or things like that, but pretty generic everything else. And then the back is contact information, that kind of stuff. So, but again, I really recommend that you have one good brochure, and then you would have a number of other brochures depending upon A, your budget, B, who your audiences are, but also make these things printable off your website so that if people are calling you for information, say, well, if you'd like a brochure, you can print it at this website. So that the only printing you're doing is when you're actually out there talking to people and you're handing it out. The other good thing about having printable brochures on your website is that it will cut down on your printing costs. You can give people cards for information or brochures. Go here. People are more than willing to print it out for themselves. Okay? So those are the two tools that I feel are critical to good public relations. And then the last thing, and again, I apologize, Joyce and Brian, because yet again I have talked too long, but the last thing, step 6, that I think you need to do is develop an action plan and a budget. Actually put it in a time frame. If you're going to update or redo your website, put it in a time frame. Give yourself a budget. Even if you don't have that money, see what it's going to cost, and then we'll look for the money. We'll look for someone to do it, things like that. But, really get an action plan together, because how many of you make lists of things to do, or you have calendars of what you need to get done?
Yeah.
Don't those tend to get done as opposed to free-for-alls when you come in and say, yeah, I need to work today? At least for me it does. And it's the same thing true. The minute we put it in writing, that almost commits us to doing it. So write a plan for it and put a budget to it. At least you'll know what it's going to cost, and you can start raising money towards it. It's really interesting. Like I'm working with this one nonprofit right now, and we were meeting with a printer guy, and saying, well, how much would this cost? And he goes, I know a grant program. They'll give you $2,000 to do that. And so just by them knowing that they needed to have money, they just happen on to a $2,000 grant, which isn't a lot of money, but that little bit can do a tremendous amount as far as public relations is concerned. And one other thing, too, is get some help, you guys. See if you can't get a volunteer to help you with that. Maybe, I'd have to look at your specific communities, which I will be doing over the course of the next month or so, but there's a lot of resources out there that can help you with it. Because, like I said, public relations, it does take time to get all this initial development done. Once you get it done, though, it's not so bad, especially if you have people that will give talks about your organization, if you have your stock brochures that just need updating, and if you have a really good website that just needs updating. It's not bad. It's this first initial push that takes a lot of time to do, and that. So.
Oh, really?
So that's what I have to say, you guys. Oh, and then we are going to, I didn't go over your strategic plan. We have a strategic plan for you guys. Okay. I'm only on slide 2, and so I don't think the whole time, but we're going to send you another work exercise that will help you move to this. So fast. I say I'm not going to do it, Brian, but in your strategic plan, it helps you work through to develop your service. You gotta do these. Okay, what's it look like? Who's your competition? Who are you going to target? That's what I'm going to help you with. Who do you think you're going to target? Target funders? You know, who's your targeted market? And then you get to revise where you were headed before. Okay? And then you just set it up. You set up your goal, your objectives, your activities, and do a budget for it. All right? So that's the kind of, that whole thing is to kind of help you work through this and come up with a good public relations strategy. Okay, now, does anybody have any questions? Okay, so I think this is fun, but you may not, but give you long term, it'll give you to do is look at the programs that are really out there. Well, hopefully will reinforce to devote some time to it, or get somebody to devote some time. Once you get it going and get it set up, it really isn't. So that's it for today. And I'm going to start with the cash stuff, okay? So good luck, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Is everyone still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Brian?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Oh, sorry. I just took back the
Yeah.
roll because
Oh, okay.
put the evaluation up eventually. Let me go ahead share something. Or do you want to see if there's any questions?
Yeah, I wanted to find out if there were any questions.
I have a question. This is Barb. Some of this seems like it would be really appropriate for a sponsor to hear, because as far as fundraising and all of that stuff, we are not allowed to do that. And to seek donations, it has to go through our advisory council or our sponsor.
I see. Would they be interested in coming on the call?
Not mine. Nothing personal, but I've tried to get them on other things and they wouldn't. But I'm just making a point that it's good stuff to know and to pass on, which is what I do. But
what about the recording? Would they listen to that?
Possibly. Yep, possibly.
Okay. Well, that's something we can do. As Brian said, this is our first time recording it, so we need to look through them before we send them out to you.
It's like the grant information that we get. We're not allowed to write grants.
Apply for it, yeah.
So I just forward it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, because we do send you a lot of stuff that we receive.
And it's good. It's good stuff. So.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
This information will be sent to us in email form?
Yes, it would be an email form.
And Barb brought up a good point about having the sponsors involved in this. It would be okay if we did have someone from our sponsor agency to listen in and participate in the calls?
I don't think there'll be a problem, Brian.
No, not at all.
We would try to encourage.
Good idea, Barb.
Okay. All right. Well, we will send out the document for you to complete, and this would be the fourth document. We sent out 3 after last month's call, after the April call, and we can resend them out so you kind of can see the whole picture. So you might want to, you can start, if you hadn't filled them out, go ahead and, for your own benefit, you can start filling them out, and then you can look at what we've done today as far as public relations and kind of fit that into place.
Now, are you guys going to Atlanta as well?
ACKCO?
Yeah.
we're going to have a representative there. I don't know if you guys know Dave Carrillo or remember Dave from the conferences, our annual conferences. He's going to be there to present a couple sessions, one on working in Indian communities and another presentation on a census data project that deals with where elder programs are in relation to elder population specifically for tribes. So he's going to be there on behalf of ACKCO presenting those two sessions along with Kathy Ferguson, who some of you also should know or may know also from our annual conference. So, and I know one session's on Saturday. I believe that's the census study project, and one session's on Sunday, and that's the Working with Tribes project. So they'll be there on behalf of ACKCO and the corporation.
Do you have to register in advance for this?
I believe you do. Yeah, I believe if you go to their site, it's they have a registration link which will take you to their registration system called Reg Online. And I know I believe the sessions are there as well. They're listed. But I'm sure at check-in too you could ask and they'd be able to help you out. But also just to follow up on Barb's call a little bit, or question, I think we're going to post this maybe on our website along with some of the documents we've been handing out, just in case people miss some of these calls. They can go back and find the forms and maybe listen to some of these webinars. So that might be a way to work with some other people who haven't been able to be on here.
Right. And for the web link to charityfocus.org, it's www.charityfocus.org. And that was the organization that Susan referred to for setting up a web link.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. That was the one. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We could probably get those in the notes, or get that web address in the notes also.
Could you also email that brochure that you said you had?
A brochure?
Yeah, you said, it would be nice to create one, and you have kind of one in mind.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll send that out in the notes, the
Okay.
information that Susan provided as far as what should be on a brochure.
Okay.
Yeah, we will send that out, and as far as what should be in a web link or in your.
And if Susan has a sample one, Joyce, maybe we could get an electronic copy and send that out as well.
Okay.
Like a sample brochure. I thought it sounded like
Yeah.
you had one in mind.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments, concerns?
This is Vonda. I was just wondering, I'd like to see a sample on pre-service orientation, if someone has one that, if they could email me or send it to me, because I'm trying to work on one for our program. And I haven't had any luck finding one.
Okay. And if you can send it to Joyce, and I can make sure that I get it to Vonda. Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? If not, we thank you all for being on the call, and we hope that the series of training is helping you. And we will send out the call notes as well as the information that was provided. And if you have any follow-up questions, let us know. You can always email me or call me. And if there are no other questions, Brian, do you have anything?
Yes, I'm going to put an evaluation up on the screen like we usually do after each webinar, and if you could just take a couple minutes to answer it. It's on a timer, a 5-minute timer, but it should only take about 2 minutes. So I'll go ahead and open that now. It should be on the right of your screen.
Okay. Thank you for being on the call, and we look forward to talking to you again next month.
Thank you.
Thank
Everyone
you.
have a
Thank
good
you.
month.
Everybody.
Thanks.